Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talks and Tea with me, Tonya Nicole. I have a very special guest today, so go ahead out there, grab your tea, come back, tell me what you're drinking in the comments, and we'll be back in 30 seconds. What's up, everybody? So, completely disregard. I don't know what's going on with my video, but I know you can hear me and I know you can see Domari. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Talks and Tea with me, Tonya Nicole, and my very special guest, my Spellman sister, Miss Domari Dickinson. Domari is a parenting coach, and she works with Black families to help them decolonize their parenting in order to show up in a more positive, purposeful, and peaceful way. And today we're going to be getting into the nitty gritty about all of that. Just disregard these crazy faces that are freezing on this screen. I'm going to just try to hold these. Right. Hey, Domari.
Hey, how are you?
Excellent. How are you today? Tell everybody hello.
Hola, everyone. I hope I'm not freezing up too. I feel like I am a little bit.
You're perfectly fine. I'm just making these crazy faces looking like I don't know. So you said what?
Still beautiful. You're still beautiful, even when you're frozen.
Thank you, sis. So go ahead, tell me, what tea are you drinking, and tell us about your mug.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm drinking water tea.
Love it.
And this is the mug that I got for Christmas, and it's like double-sided, right? So we've got inhale and exhale.
I love
this
that.
Is a reminder when I'm in my pause and things are getting kind of crazy. Just remember to breathe.
I love that.
What are you sipping on, sis?
Yes. So I am excited because I am drinking, in dedication of us, I'm drinking Blue Days, which is a tea from our Morphia Tea, Black-owned company, tea company. And it's Blue Days because Spellman, so Blue Days. Yay. Yes, and my mug says Queen because you and I are wonderful queens, and we are having these wonderful conversations about how we can raise future kings and queens.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, so I am just beside myself because you and I have come together on this stage and our paths have aligned. They've kind of done this intertwining zigzag over the years. Can you believe we met each other over what, 19 years ago? 18? Oh, don't tell it. We're young. We're young. Just kidding. We've known each other for a long time. And actually, I think I gave us some years because I think it was a little more than that.
I kind of have to start letting that go because Kanai is about to be 20. So I can't keep saying I'm in my 30s because the math don't add up. So
it doesn't.
I guess it's been 20 years.
Yeah. And even with Brianna, I'm like, no, I did not have her when I was 10. Right. I can't get younger. But that's crazy. And so we've come here now, and you all, if you have not already, go check her out. She is going to be featured on the Round to It podcast this coming Monday, February 15th. Monday night. So go see her. It's amazing. She's only going to give you the tip of the iceberg here.
Yeah.
But I wanted to play something.
Oh, Lord. Oh, right. Lord.
I get really fun with these. So I'm going to just play something because I had the opportunity to get on TikTok. I'm not going to play the silhouette challenge, even though that was hilarious. This one's going to be a little calmer, more serious, but then I'm going to play a really good one for you. This one's
Look at
good
those
too.
This
faces.
is
Oh
part
my
two
God.
of a three-part series on how to transition to positive and purposeful parenting. So, my second tip is to take punishments off the table. Now, I get it. Your kid does something wrong and you want to teach them a lesson. But here's the thing, when you're using punishments, what you're really teaching your kid is that you're mean and that you want to hurt them. So, instead of using punishments, actually think about why they did the thing they did and really try to solve that underlying problem. So, if they fail a math test, don't take their phone away. Instead, try to help them develop better study habits or maybe better time management skills. This way of parenting really honors our kids and our relationship with them. So if you're willing to take punishments off the table, no more punishments, then you can really start to focus on the why and help kids solve their underlying problem. So make sure that you follow me so that you don't miss series or the last part in the series, so part 3.
I love it. Okay, so I'm looking all through this and I'm like, wow, these are great tips. So go ahead and, if you don't mind, share with us just a little bit about your philosophy in parenting or parent coaching and how you got to this philosophy as to kind of where you are. Just a little snippet.
Yeah, so I'm really still figuring out what the philosophy is, and it changes from year to year. Like there are some videos that you could have played, I would be like, don't play that one because I don't even think that no more. I don't even believe that. That's not even true.
I got a
Because
recent
it's
one.
yeah, like it continues to change. But at the foundation right now where we are on our journey, that my parenting is really about respect. So me respecting my kids and their decisions, helping them have autonomy and agency. So really giving them the space in our house and the space within our relationships to advocate for themselves, um, to really explore what they like, what they don't like, and just making sure that no matter what happens, so the good, the bad, the ugly, that they always feel loved and feel like I'm someone who supports them and I'm someone who has their back. And that is not how I started off. So that's completely opposite. So 180 degrees from how I started parenting my oldest. And I'm very honest about this, with her, with my clients, with the world in general, because I think it's important for people to know that it's not too late to change. It's not too late to transition if you aren't proud or comfortable with how you're showing up as a parent. Like you can start making changes now.
I love that. A lot of times parents don't feel as though they can make a change late in the game. And
Yeah.
so, what are some of the effects that you think really happen when we decide to shift later in the game? And how can that work out positively for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely makes your child understand like they are worthy of what they always feel like they deserved, right? So they might feel like, I really wish that my mom would have hugged me more, or that she didn't yell all the time, or that she never hit me. But because that always happened, like maybe the story that I'm telling myself as a child is that's what I deserved, right? I didn't
Mm.
deserve anything better. The issue with that is a lot of times that they carry those thoughts and those beliefs into their relationships. Right. So even if you're like, well, my child is 19 and I did it the wrong way this whole time, it's too late. And I'm like, it's not, because you can start changing that, which is going to impact how she accepts, receives, looks for love in other places. And also, if she decides to have her own family, like how she's going to parent her kids. And that was one of the things that I really focused on with my oldest. I was like, man, I'd mess this all up. Like, I'd inject this poor baby all up. But now that she sees there is another way, right? And so it's giving her the chance to practice like grace. Like, mom, you didn't do that for me. Why are you doing it for them? It's just like, oh, so you've changed some things, right? Okay,
Right.
okay. It gives her permission to know that she's allowed to change, right? Like who you are right now doesn't have to be who you are showing up as a month from now, a year from now. We're all changing and we're all growing. And I know that now it's shifting how she's viewing her future. I know that because of the way I parented her initially, like she was like, I don't want kids. I don't never want to have no
Mm.
kids. Everything is for the birds. And now recently she's like, well, I'm going to have a natural birth, a home birth when I have kids. I was like,
Okay.
I mean, if I have kids, and I'm just like,
right. But I think that shift is now because parenting doesn't have to seem like something that's painful, right? Where you're hurting someone else. And I know based on what I was doing initially, like that's what I made it seem like. It's just about being mean and controlling somebody and making them feel bad about themselves, because that's what I used to do. But now she can see, oh, it really can be about respect. It really can be fun. It really can be safe. It really can be a loving relationship, because she sees that now for her and also for her younger siblings.
I love that. If you're in the audience, like share with us your comments. What questions do you have now that we have Domari in our, in our hands right now? What can we ask her with the evil claps so she can see me? But this is really exciting information because it really changes the stigma of what society tells us is and isn't acceptable as a parent. And especially for parents of color, right? Black parents, we get this idea of being stern, being rigid, doing things a certain way. So, what happens when you hit against those societal, sometimes family walls that are saying it should be done this way, and you are thinking about going outside of the box? What happens then?
It depends. It depends on what your goals are. So if your goals are, I want to please everyone else and I want to make sure that I'm showing up in this space. So in my family, in my peer group, in my job, like wherever it is you're showing up as someone who has it all together and who is, perfect, you're not going to be willing to change anything, right? So you're like, well, I'm going to keep doing this thing because this is what's accepted in my circle. But if you really are like, well, let me think about what is this doing to my family and to my relationship with my kids? Is this really what I want this to be like? Right? I tell a lot of my clients, like the way you're doing it now, you're not going to have no relationship with your grandkids because your kids aren't going to want them to want to be around you because they don't want to be around you. Right? Like they'll tolerate you because right now you're putting a roof over their head. You're the reason that they're feeding. But once they don't have to be around you, are they still going to choose to come back? So I think
You
when
know
we take
what?
things
I'm
through,
sorry
like,
to interrupt. That is such a strong point because a lot of people don't think about that piece and they parent from a place of fear and don't realize sometimes what they're trying to avoid, they're creating themselves.
yeah. And I only know that because when I was teaching, my kids would come in and I would hear them say, like, I can't wait to get away from her. I ain't never going back. I'm like, really? So I've seen the other side. Like, and they were very adamant. Like, I can't leave now, but I ain't never going back. And now they have kids and their
Mm,
kids don't have relationships with their parents. And I'm
wow.
like, I don't get why. I get it. I get it.
Wow. That's wow. All I can say is wow, because that really does put a totally different spin on things for parents out there. So, what are we looking at when we talk about? No, you know what? I'm not even being serious. What are some fun things? What are some fun nuggets that you can give parents in order to find joy in choosing a more peaceful path of being a parent?
So funny you asked that. I'm actually in the middle of a 14-day challenge. It's called Love the Kids Challenge, right? So it's really just being purposeful about every day doing something to show your kids some love. And it's small things, right? Like share a treat with your kids, take a picture with your kids, play a game with your kids, watch a movie. But seeing the responses, one from the parents who are doing this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was so much fun. But from the kids, they're like, my kids were so surprised. Like they got to pick a movie and it wasn't on the weekend. So really, you can do small things to start to shift. It's about being intentional, right? And saying like, I am going to be intentional about showing you love today. I'm going to be intentional about not yelling at you today, right? And it could be the little things, but we can make it fun. And I think what makes it fun is like when the kids get excited and they get invested, but it also gives us a chance to like learn what our kids like and what they don't like. My kids love candy. So I can win Mom of the Year award if I and just incorporate candy in anything. Like, oh, here's a piece of candy. And they're like, oh, this is the best day ever. And I'm like,
Okay.
That was easy. Right, like, that was easy, but it doesn't have to be super difficult to start making these shifts. And really, an easy way to do it is just to include your kids. Like, ask them what they want to do and then find a way to let them do it. Right? We don't have to come up with all the ideas. It doesn't have to be something that costs $1 million. Like, I'm going to take them to Disney World. Some of your kids might not like that because they don't like being around people. They just want to be with
Right.
you up on the couch watching a movie. So it's not about keeping up with the Joneses or doing these things. Like, let me figure out what matters, what works for our family, and then find a way to incorporate that. Fun looks different for everybody. Fun, I have 4 kids, and fun looks different for each of them. So what's fun for
Yeah.
my oldest is not fun for the next one. They're very different, but I can find ways to honor each of them to make them know, like, hey, I'm doing this for you because I want to connect with you because you matter to me, and your happiness matters to me, and I really, really, really want my kids to know that.
Wow. That's great. That's really great. Now, tell me a little bit about the Peaceful Parent Collective and the Purposeful Parent Initiative.
All these P's, a whole bunch of P's. What are all the P's?
Right. I tried.
So I like a little alliteration. Okay. So positive and purposeful parenting is just my business where I'm sharing these tips and really working with people to realize, like, hey, there is another way to do this. And it's really to help people show up in a way that's more positive. So we're not always assuming the worst in our kids. We're not always focusing on taking things away or hurting our kids. It's really about, like, look, let me assume the best and let me partner with you, come alongside you to help give you the tools that you need for you to show up in a better way, and also me to practice how I can show up in a better way. And then really being purposeful. So it's like, I know where I want my family to go. I know how I want us to be able to show up in the world. So the things that I'm thinking, the things that I'm saying, the things that I'm doing, the activities that we're doing as a family are all in alignment. Like, there's a purpose behind this. We're trying to reach this goal. Whether we reach it or not, we can't determine because we can't really control our kids, right? But I can say,
Right.
like, this is my intention, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you the opportunities to do things that are aligned with our goal, with our family mission. And then peaceful, just because everybody deserves to have peace in the house, so that it's not like I don't want to be in this space. There was a time when I was like, I don't even want to be around these people in this house. And I know for a fact, because they've told me, that they felt the same way about me. So helping create
Mm.
this space that's more peaceful. And we have the Peaceful Parent Collective is just a space where we come together as Black families and say, what are the tools that are going to help us get there? So every month we're taking different things and working through them. Like, how can we start to shift our language? How can we start to shift our thoughts and our actions so that we're moving forward on this journey to show up as, a more peaceful parent? Because I
I
really
love
believe that our community around this is really important, because there are so many people who are out there like, you don't have to do this. That's some white people stuff. Or, no, you better beat that child. We hear that all the time. So this is like our space to say, like, that's not what we're choosing to do. And we're here to support each other to try to do something different.
I love that. I love that. I I have been a what is it? A dropout, but I don't care. I'm determined to read this book. But you recommended this amazing book, Raising Free People. I have it. I'm reading it slower than the group.
Okay,
But
we're reading at our own
I
pace.
know, I love it. I love it. Like, I knew if you were reading it that it was something definitely worthwhile, and it has proven to actually be that. Um, I know unschooling is a concept in a lot of times in homeschooling, but this also talks about going beyond just homeschooling. This is talking about unschooling in life, right? So tell me a little bit about this book and what your group does and the book talks that you do reviewing this book and other books that help edify you as a parent or as a person.
Yeah, so that book came out last year. Akila is amazing. She's someone, when I first started on my journey, I started following her. I was like, girl, I love you. You're amazing. Tell me more. How do you do this? Because it was so different, her way of parenting. And I was like, I think, right? Yeah, I think I want this. I think I want this. It's really good.
Maybe,
And get
perhaps.
it. right? But this is part of the journey where it's just like I have to rethink everything, my approach to life. So it's really beyond people hear like unschooling and they're like, oh, this is just about school. It is
Right.
about like not forcing our kids to perform the way that school expects them to, and releasing the idea that learning can only happen in the confines of a school building. A lot of people aren't ready for that, right?
Right.
A lot of people are like, wait, what? Like they're not going to go to school and they're still going to learn. And I get that, right? But it's also about like, what are the things that I believe to be true about parenting, about life, about my worth, my value as a woman, as a person, period. Like, what things do I like? What don't I like? Really giving yourself permission to work through those questions, and also watching your kids do the same thing, right? So it's not about I have to control my kids and force them to do these things to make me look good. It's like, let me look to see what my kid is interested in. Let me look to see what my kid needs from me, and then how can I support them with those things. So it's revolutionary. And our group just walked through the book and we kind of read it together and worked through like this is what's coming up for me in terms of like how this is making me feel, what this is looking like in my house or what it's not looking like in my house. And we continued that with the book Untigering by Iris Chen, which is another book just about really decolonizing your parenting, right? And thinking through all the ways that we're showing up and like, is this really what we want to do? Like, I can question these things. And then when we realize that it's not what I want to do, like, what else am I going to do? That's the other thing.
Mhm.
Like, okay, I don't want to beat my kids, but what I'm going to do? What else do I do? So just let them run free? Like, that's not what we're saying. People always go from like, either I'm beating them or I don't have any boundaries at all. And I'm like, y'all, there's a whole area in between that we just skipped over. But again, that goes back to that fear, right? Like my fear is if I don't keep doing things the way that I've been doing them, that my kids are going to be, just wild and all over the place. And I'm like, no matter what you do, that's a possibility. So why
Right.
not make sure that your kid knows that you love them and you have their back as you're trying to avoid this thing? Because you never know. We cannot control our kids. We don't get to say what choices they're going to make and how they're going to end up. So why not love on them along the way instead of making them feel like they are unworthy of love from the person who's supposed to love them no matter what, right?
That's truer than you can ever know. Because no, it really resonates because a lot of times we fight with this idea of what is expected, how did I grow up, what is everyone else doing, what are their friends going to think, what are other people going to think, and so many other questions that come up that it really does take going through all of that before we can get to really unpeeling and getting to the core of it so that we can just show up and be our best for our children. That's amazing. Um, I know that you also talk about, I just want to end with this one. I was trying to think, but I'm not going to take it into a whole nother. If you want to know more, you're going to have to go see her on our podcast, as she is a featured guest on our February 15th showing. So that's next Monday night. And go watch her on our podcast with Talks and Tea. You've got to see it. It's amazing. But even with that, and as we're bringing things under wrap, if you have any questions or comments that you would like to ask in the chat, go ahead and do that. If you're watching this on a replay, continue the conversation. We'd love to answer questions. Domari will be tagged in all of this so she can answer your questions. I can follow up and send it to her however we can so that we can really get this done. So for every one of our in February, the talks and teas that I've been doing, I've been incorporating some portion of Black history. And I was having such a hard time doing it for this one because I wanted it to align. But I'm actually going to show a picture that I showed. I believe I showed it last week. But I want your thoughts on it and how it incorporates the principles you're talking about and Black history. All right.
Yeah. Do it. What's the picture?
So this is
Oh,
the picture. It's legacy. Live the way you want to be remembered. So I'm going to have you just share kind of what does this mean in the whole scheme, not just in being a person and living a good life, but also as it relates to a historical context and as it relates to being parents in the way that we want to parent and showing up for our children.
Girl, this about to be a whole another 30 minutes.
Uh-oh.
So much. So this is so much that goes. Let me see how I can summarize this because it's a lot. And I think part of the work, right? So just the idea around legacy. Um, so many different ways to take this. So part of the work is really dealing with people's feelings about if I make these changes, right? If I'm choosing now to show up in this way, then now I'm dishonoring the legacy of the people who parented me, right? Whether that's my mom and my dad, my aunts and my uncles, my grandma, and they feel like I can't move forward and do something different because now that's being disrespectful to them. And they did an amazing job. They did the best that they could with what they have. And I think we have to learn how to separate those things and say, like, yes. And I've learned some things and now I can build upon that. Right. So it doesn't have to be the same way. If we think about all the people who have been fighting for equality before us, they didn't just say, like, oh, well, because he did it this way, I got to do it the exact same way. I can learn from what they did and still honor everything about who they were as a person and say, here's how I'm going to add to that. Right. I'm not going to say, like, you didn't do anything right. And we also just can't ignore, like, all the systems that are in place that are causing people to show up in the way that they're showing up right now, right? So we can't pretend that, oh, I'm parenting this way because I just think that it's great. Like, no, this is systemic. When we say decolonizing, we're admitting that white supremacy plays a role in how we show up for our kids. We can also say we can choose to opt out of that. And
Love
no,
it.
it's not something easy, but that's not our legacy as Black people. We're not saying I'm going to take the easy road. We're saying, like, I have to sit and think and say, this might be different from what other people want me to do. This might be different from what other people think I deserve. But I know that I know that I know because our history goes beyond our history in this country, right? We know because it's still encoded in our DNA
Mm-hmm.
how children should be treated. We know what feels good, and we know that we can go back to that. And so I think part of this is saying, like, our legacy extends beyond 400 years. Like, we have
Right.
other mothering techniques that we can pull on and we can go back to and say, like, this is the part of our legacy that we're going to choose to bring forward and to honor and to implement now, where I'm loving kids, where I'm respecting kids, not that they have to earn it, right? That I believe that they are amazing beings, that they are fully capable of making their own decisions, and I don't have to control them. I don't have to hurt them, that I can work alongside them to nurture them and to give them the space, the environment that they need to thrive, and then to just to come alongside them and love them along the way. Like, we can
I
do
love,
that because we've
I
been
love
doing
that.
that.
Exactly. LaShawn says, when I am gone from this earth, I always think about what will my kids remember about me? I want them to have wonderful, loving memories of me and their childhood.
Yes, I think the same thing. And, like, when we were in college and we would be in our rooms telling stories, I'm like, what stories are my kids gonna tell about me?
Yeah.
Right? And like, how are they gonna describe their mom? Like, they got a bunch of crazy stories that I'm like, oh my gosh, my mom did this. Right. But I want my story to be about making mistakes and trying and fixing and loving and always having their back. I want it to be a story of support, love, and honor, not perfection. Right? Not that they couldn't come to me and ask me questions, not that I made them feel like they had to be perfect. I don't know what they're gonna say. Right?
Right.
But I'm trying to make sure that all of the things that I needed, when I was younger that I'm trying to give those things to them. I'm sure, I tell people all the time, I'm sure my kids are still going to have to go to therapy, right? I just don't want it to be for the same things that I'm going to therapy for, right? Let it be
Right.
something, because there's still going to be some things they have to work through, because I'm still learning, right? I'm still working through some things. There's a situation that happened last week that I don't have permission to share it yet, but it was like, I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. This isn't in my toolkit, but I'm willing to
Yes.
learn, right? And I'm going to show you love until I figure this out.
Oh my
Let's
goodness,
figure
I
it
had
out.
one of those. Yes. And I was like, I don't know how to parent this. Like, give me a
Yeah.
moment.
I was like, I don't know. What you got? What you
Right.
think we should do? Right? And even with my youngest son, we had a moment and I was like, I don't know what to do. He was like, I don't either. And I was like, let's think about it and come back. Because a lot of times we've been groomed and conditioned to think like when an issue comes up, we have to handle it right then and right there. Otherwise, it's going to blow up into this big thing. And I'm like, that's not true.
Right.
Like, it doesn't have to be, I have to deal with this right now. It could be, I don't know how to deal with this, but we're going to talk about it later. Like, let's come back. Let's come back. And so I love modeling that for my kids, and I love watching them use that with each other. My son did it for me the other day. He was really upset, and he was like, I am not ready to talk about this. I need to go downstairs and lay down, and then can we talk about this later? And I was like, absolutely. And then I heard him telling his little sister, Corey was yelling at my other son, and his brother was like, just walk away. You don't have to let someone yell at you. You don't have to take that. You can just walk away. And I was like, you don't have to take that.
You go.
You don't have to put up with that. Walk away. Get out of that. So we are always modeling, but I think that's a really good question to keep in your mind. Like, what are my kids going to say about me once I'm gone?
So I want to end with just two fun things. One is something that you actually just posted a couple of days ago, but I absolutely loved it. I'm going to give a summary of it. Your son came and asked you for a hug. Can you share that story with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I can read it, but I think it would be so much more fun to hear it.
Earlier in the day, my boys are 18 months apart, and they've always been together. So they're really close, but sometimes they get on each other's nerves. So earlier in the day, my youngest son I heard him like screaming to his brother to leave him alone. I'm like, what's going on? He was messing with his little brother. And then it happened again, and his little brother's like, he was about to cry. I'm like, what's going on? And I'm in my mind, I'm like, leave him alone. Stop antagonizing your brother and just go to your, and I wanted to handle it that way. And I was like, what's really going on? I think you might just need attention because you've been doing this all day. This is what I'm thinking in my head, right? So let me try this. Okay. So next time, Kaden, you feel like antagonizing your brother, just come to me, right? Just come ask me for a hug. I'll give you a hug. Love you up, right? Okay, try that. And that was it. So I didn't punish him. I didn't yell at him. I didn't make him apologize to his brother. So later that night, I'm in my room and he knocks on the door. He's like, can I have a hug? I was like, yeah, sure. It's a hug. Hugging him up. It's like, okay, here you go. And I'm like, what made you come and ask me that? He was like, I just needed a hug. I'm like, but why do you need a hug right now? He was like, well, I was getting ready to go antagonize Cameron, and I remember what you said, so I just wanted to come get a hug from you instead. I was like, it worked. Right. And so then, I'm messing with him, and I'm like, that's so awesome. But it's just an example of, instead of punishing our kids, like, give them the tools they need to deal with the situation that they didn't know how to deal with before. But that comes from being able to assume the best, right? I'm not assuming that he's just trying to be a jerk to his brother. I'm assuming there's something that he's missing in his life right now, and he doesn't know a better way to ask for it or to get it. I gave him a better way. Ask for a hug, boo. I got you. And he did it. And I was like, score. Sometimes that's the work, sometimes it doesn't. But this is about trying different things. And at the end of the day, right? The bottom line is, look, I'm going to show you love. Even though I'm mad right now and I really want you to leave your brother alone because I'm going to knock you out if you don't. That's what I'm thinking now. Because my mental hasn't transformed all the way. So I still think all these things. I just don't say them out of my mouth. I don't know if that ever goes away, right? That's my first reaction is like, I'm about to knock you out because you're messing with my baby, right? But I don't say that. and I don't act on that. But I'm thinking through these things. It's like, look, I'm gonna help you, and I want that to be something that my kids always know. Like, I will help you as best I can.
I absolutely love that. That is perfect. I do. When I read it, I was like, yep, this is the good stuff. And like you
Aw,
said, it doesn't mean it's going to work 50 million times, but it worked
nope.
today. And it
Yep.
may work again, or we may have to do something else. But it's about finding what works, trying it, and then being flexible so that they learn the lessons and that our children get to find other outlets versus instantly resulting to the norm, go hide, get a spanking, or some sort of punitive measure of trying to
Right.
find resolve.
Yep.
I love it. I said I was going to do two, but I think I'm going to let us end there. I know I'm going to let us stop. Uh,
I
but
don't know
if
what
you
you found.
I was gonna play another TikTok, but I was like, let me not just put her all out on her TikTok. Go find more of Domari Dickinson. You can visit her on her website, but go subscribe to her TikTok channel because it's amazing. And she's motivated me, but I don't have fun things to put on a TikTok. So I'm gonna join you. I'm trying to convince the kids. I'm like, kids, help me because I don't know what to do. I was like, I want to do the pointing thing.
You do. I'm telling you, you do. You think about it, you be like, oh, I can just do this. And so for me, like one of the things that I'm learning to let go as an adult is like the need to show up perfectly, right? The need to show up in a way that's pleasing to as many people as possible. You saw that when my hair was looking all crazy, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm just gonna let this message come on out. I just did another one, and I was like, look, TikTok, you don't have to like it, you don't have to love it. And guess what? I'm not reading the comments because they be in them comments brutal, honey. I be like, oh,
Really?
oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So me, I'm like, ain't nobody at girl. You're 14 years old. How you commenting on my tick? Girl, I don't even read them anymore. I'm just like, okay, y'all can have it, but it's fun for me, so I will definitely keep doing it because
I
you
think
could
I might enjoy it. So I'm hoping
keep
they'll
doing
help me navigate it because I don't have an account yet. So I'm hoping they'll help me so that I can join you in the ranks of Mamas Gone Wild.
it. Kenya Kelly is an amazing like TikTok expert. She's got a little course, a lot of freebies. She can help you
Oh,
get it right. She will help you get
Kenya
it together.
Kelly?
Yes, I will tag you in her. I think she's starting a new like TikTok course. Perfect
Oh,
timing for you. I don't know if it's open,
thank
but
you.
yes, we're
Awesome.
gonna be
Awesome. Awesome.
together.
I'm going to be out there. Yes. Yes. I love it. Who knows? I might gain some rhythm and start doing some dances. All right, y'all. If you're joining us live, if you are watching the replay, I know you have enjoyed these crazy frozen shots of me. But in addition to that, I know you have enjoyed, right, this talk with Domari Dickinson. If you want to connect with her in her initiatives that she has about being both purposeful, positive, and peaceful, connect with her, the website scrolling below at domaridickinson.com, and go ahead and just find out all wonderful things she does. She gives amazing tidbits on how to show up for our children and she's a parent coach. So go let her fix your life. What is that?
Come on,
What is that
come on.
show? Fix
Yeah,
my
I
life.
am. Right.
Oh, yeah, okay. That was not what I was thinking, but yes. Well, it's different. Um, but definitely go check her out. Go find out more about her. She is very active on all social media platforms. But if you connect with her on her website, you can connect with all of that. And as you all know, we are the Bridge Every Gap. And I'm going to scroll down my website. So if you want to check me out and have a conversation, get to know us a little bit more, we have the Round to It podcast that plays every week. So check it out. You can find it on any of your podcasting platforms. Disregard that face. I cannot change it. Join our community on Facebook. It is the Bridge Every Gap community. And we also have a club in Clubhouse called Bridge Every Gap. And every night at 10 Central, 8 Pacific, and 11 Eastern, we do a conversation. Tonight is Ask a Teen Almost Anything, because we keep it appropriate. Join us. Yeah, I'm excited. Like, they've enjoyed it. I don't know what my 10-year-old is over here doing weird things in the mirror. Okay, so that is it, y'all. Have a wonderful night. Domari, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't want this to be the last time you and I are going to collaborate again. I'm just putting it out there in the future. I enjoyed having this conversation.
Thank you so
until
much.
next time. Definitely my complete pleasure. Bye, everybody. Peace, small hearts, and stay different.